Today, I'm going to show you how I make these gorgeous hoop earrings using memory wire and some beads and a little technique that I really like that finishes them off. So if you absolutely love hoop earrings, or you like this style or color or these colors, or if you want to check out and buy one of my handcrafted originals, I'll link everything below in the description. And if you want to learn how to make these on your own, then this video is definitely for you. Now, just a quick note before we jump in. I am not a formally trained jewelry maker. Everything I've learned has been through trial and error and through watching other really amazing and generous makers. So if you do something differently or if you have a tip of your own, drop it in the comments. I like that we can all learn from each other on my channel. All right, let's get started. And to make these earrings, you'll need memory wire. You'll need some kind of focal bead. You'll need some accent beads. I have some little square beads. They're probably about 2 millimeters. I also have some 2 millimeter silver spacer beads. You'll need 2 ear wires. You'll need 2 beads of some sort that have a large hole because we're going to need to put the memory wire up through that hole twice, or it's a double the width of the memory wire. And then I have some other little spacer beads here that we might use as well. Ear wires, did I mention that? You'll need either your round nose pliers or your memory wire finishing pliers that look like this. But if you don't have these, you can use your regular round nose pliers. It just takes a little bit more finesse. You'll need some flat nose pliers or chain nose pliers. But really, I think the flat nose works best for this, and you'll see why. I have another little pair of chain nose pliers with a petite end in case I need to get into any little areas and do some minor adjustments. You'll need some memory wire cutters. Remember, we've talked about this, about using memory wire cutters on your memory wire, because if you use your regular flush cutters, it will likely ruin your flush cutters and you'll cry, and there's no crying in jewelry making. It's all for fun. So invest in a pair of memory wire cutters. You'll also need some sort of marker, like a permanent marker, and either a small ruler or a piece of paper or something that you can cut so that it's 3/4 of an inch long here. This is a piece of painter's tape that I have doubled over, and you'll see what we're going to do with that. All right, I think that's it, so let's do it. To begin with, we're going to cut 2 circles of memory wire that are the same length. So take your memory wire, kind of find your end there, put the next loop up next to it, and cut about an inch longer than a complete circle. So like your full circle would be right there at the end of that wire. Come in about an inch and cut. So now we have a circle that has about an inch overlap. And then do it again. I do recommend that when you make earrings like this, that it helps if you make them both at the same time. Whatever you do to one earring, do to the other earring, so that they are the same size in the end. So we're going to cut our second loop about an inch longer. And now we have 2. So you can I'm going to set one aside and we'll work with this one. And once you've figured out your pattern that you want to use, then we're going to just put the beads on the memory wire. And one little tip that I received from a viewer last week was to use a silicone earring backer on one end of the memory wire as a bead stopper. And it was one of those duh moments for me, like, well, why didn't I think of that before? Some things are so simple and I just make them difficult. So thank you, viewer. That was Brengen7391, I believe, who commented that tip, and I greatly appreciate it. So use your bead stopper on here so that you don't need 3 or 4 hands to keep your beads on. And then just start putting your beads on in whatever pattern you have chosen. One thing I will say is that I forgot to mention that I'm using 2 bead caps, which are optional, but I think the way that they framed this focal bead looks really nice. So we're gonna use some bead caps for that focal. All right, so then just start putting your beads on. I think this color is so rich. I love this garnet color for the focal bead and the little square glass beads. Really pretty. And as you're designing your earrings, you can put as many beads on here as you want. You can go all the way up if you want. I'm just going a short way up because I like for some of the shiny silver metal to show. Now let's see if I can talk and chew gum at the same time and get this. Nope, I knew I couldn't do that. See, I got the bead cap on in the wrong orientation. I am directionally challenged sometimes. So let's put that cap on, put that focal bead on, see how that sits on there and just frames it nicely. And put that bead cap on, keep on with our pattern. So I need one more tiny red bead because I don't know if you saw it, but the other one just flew off the table. It happens. Let's see, do I have this right? Yeah. And one more small silver accent bead. All right, that was easy peasy. So now here is where our very technical tool comes in here, our piece of tape or paper or whatever you've used. So in order to do the next part, which is to help to start closing this off, we're going to bend up each end of this wire. And in order to get them as even as possible, you're going to put the end of your memory wire, up against the edge of that tape, and we've got a 3/4 inch length here. So we're going to mark it. Get over there. We're going to mark it at 3/4 of an inch right on the wire so that we know where to bend it. Mark that end, then turn it around and do the same on the other end. Mark it So now we have two marks that are 3/4 of an inch in, and that is where we are going to bend the wire up. Now to do that, I like to use these wide flat nose pliers. Place your pliers, squeeze right on that mark that we made. Put your finger under the wire and using your right hand or whatever hand that you have the pliers in, bend up. So now we have a wire sticking up there. I'm going to turn it around, do the same thing to this side. Grasp with your pliers right on that mark that we made. Put your finger under there and rotate the pliers and bend up. So now we have something that looks like that. And hopefully, yeah, it's the same size as the other earring I made. So I dodged a bullet on that one by doing this one first and then this one. So see how those wires are still, they're kind of, they have a curve to them. We want to straighten those out. And that's another reason why I like these flat nose pliers, these wide flat nose pliers. So we're just going to try to straighten these ends out a bit because it will make the next step easier. Maybe a little bit more on this one. All right. Now here is where we use the bead that has a hole in it that's large enough to fit over both of these ends of wire. So it slips over like that. And I have even used a little round bead like this. What are these? 3 millimeter, 3 millimeter, I guess. Anything that you like that's decorative, makes a nice decorative top and fits down over those two wires. So now make sure your wires are an even length at the top. And here's where we're going to use either our memory wire finishing pliers or your round nose pliers if you don't have these. The critical thing here is to make sure that these wires are not crossed inside that top bead there. Make sure that they are parallel to one another. And you may have to fiddle with this a little bit, but isolate one wire and grab onto it with your round nose pliers or whatever pliers you're using. Grab onto the very tip of that wire, and we're going to make a little loop parallel with the rest of this wire, right? This now makes sense when I do this. So grasp it, and then, oh, I want the small side. I want to make a small loop. You may have to move that other one out a little bit so that you can get your pliers in there and get to that loop. All right, grasp it and then slowly rotate your wrist and firmly make a loop. And what I'm going for is to have that loop touch the bead right there. All right, you see that? Now turn it over and do the very same thing to the other side. Second side will be easier because you've already got this side secured. So grab it Make sure the wire is flush, not sticking out here at the top. And slowly make a loop. All right, so now we have something that looks sort of like Mickey Mouse ears, and it's wonky right now. Yours may not be wonky. Sometimes I get lucky and mine do what they're supposed to do on the first try. But if they look a little wonky like this and you want to straighten them out, you can certainly do that. So I'm going to fiddle with these for a minute until I get the loops the way I want them so that they look even. All right, that is pretty good. Now I have a little gap here with this one, so I want to squeeze it together till both loops look about the same. Now, I am terrible about this, y'all. I forgot to tell you that we need jump rings. I'm sorry. I just am really bad about that. I'll say, oh, okay, I think I have all my materials ready, and I don't. So we need 3 jump rings. And I'm using tiny jump rings here. So now we are going to attach our jump rings to these 2 little loops that we just made. Now I am not crazy about the way this one looks. See how it's kind of sticking out there? So I think I'm going to try to trim it. Get in there and trim that little part off that's sticking up. Maybe. Maybe not. I will fiddle with that afterwards, but I don't want to take up your time in this video to do that. But just know that you can take your time and fiddle with those loops and get them looking however you want. All right, so now let's take one of our jump rings. Open it up and put it on one of the hoops or little loops that we just made. Close it up. Take another jump ring. Place it on the other loop. Now you have something that looks like that. Our 2 jump rings on there. Now we're going to connect those 2 jump rings that we just put on with another jump ring. Sometimes it helps to turn the earring upside down so that you can thread this 3rd jump ring through those 2 and connect them together. The reason I'm going through all this is because I wanted to come up with a top closure for memory wire earrings that was a little more decorative than just rolling the wire and just having a simple memory wire loop at the top. That's why I'm doing this. Because, you know, I'm a rebel. I have to do things different. Be a rebel. All right, so now we're ready to put on our ear wire. So take that top jump ring that you just applied, open it up, put on your ear wire, close the jump ring, and voila, there's your beautiful earring. Now, how did we do? Would you look at that? They are the same size. Yay. This one looks a little bit not so round, so I may bend this one a little bit so they're both exactly the same shape. So there you go. How do you like them apples? Oh, I will tell you this. So when I pick this up, the ear wire is perpendicular to the earring. And when I was fiddling with these before, I thought, I wonder if that ear wire should be parallel to the earring like this. And I tried them on and I could not tell the difference. I couldn't tell the difference one way or the other, whether the ear wire was parallel with the loop or hoop or whether it was perpendicular with the hoop. So you can do that however you want. And that's it for that one. I also made some different versions. Here's a smaller version. I made that with green crystals. And here is an even smaller version. To get, if you want smaller ones, just cut your memory wire loops a little bit smaller, and you'll get these lovely kind of teardrop shapes. So there's another one that I made and wire wrapped some small round stone beads and put them on the top with a jump ring. And I kind of like that. That's really kind of bohemian and fun. So have fun with these. Design your own. Use whatever beads you want, and experiment with this top closure. Tell me how you like it, because I like it. I think it's fun. I think it finishes the earring off nicely and it's different. But so let me know what you think, and let me see your creations. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.